was admitted.
Oh, that matter.
It's been properly captured on the order paper
The team from HR
as programmed by the business committee, and the minister is here to present the statement to the House. So the minister may do so. So honorable members,
I want to be honest. In my view, and from what I've seen, I think we missed a couple
honorable
of
minister, just a minute.
as it was set up.
Just a
as
minute.
far as sales,
Honorable members,
it looks to me like
at the
commencement commercial real estate. So some of the ways
Mr. Speaker, just
eventually come back
thank
to
you
them.
for your guidance and the proper interpretation of 1952. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Programming, you can talk about the sales structure, rate card. There are a lot of commission structure. There are but the beautiful all of us in this room, all of us together, in terms of our experiences. Purpose, we can fix this. Which one? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so that. Right. Okay. Short. There are issues with our sales. The sales department is not doing well. Of course, some of the sales are with, but let's discuss, or particularly on how to. I think we are doing or the commercial only for Timakra, but that if you not go if you are doing that stuff, is interest of the company. Don't do it, because I find out, and when I find out, I will not be happy. And when I'm not happy, I it's a business, and we want to run it as such. So you
pursuant to
I'm doing politics about
Article 179 of the Constitution and the other paper and the standing orders of the House. Pursuant to Article 179 of the Constitution and the other paper and the standing orders of the House.
Staff.
Order 1952 and today's order paper item 7. The Speaker, I present to you the budget statement and economic policy of government for the year ending 31st December 2025.
Do you have the number?
Right, Honorable Speaker.
98.
Today marks a moment of great significance, and I have the singular honor to stand before this House to present, on behalf of His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, following his extraordinary mandate, the maiden budget of his new administration. The Speaker, I'm deeply grateful to His Excellency the President for entrusting me with this responsibility. Respectfully, Mr. Speaker, I also submit to this House the following statutory report as required by law. The 2024 annual report on the Petroleum Fund, in line with Section 48 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815, as amended, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker, I also
Again,
submit
it's
the 2024 Energy
a
Sector Levies
communication
Report
process. You see.
in accordance with
Um,
Section 6 of the Energy Sector Levies Act 2015, Act 899.
Tuesday.
And finally,
And
Mr.
the back-
Speaker, the
some way
2024
if we
annual
put it
report
out.
on the
Going forward,
collection
it's important
and
those
utilization of the African Import Union Levy in line with Section 7 of the African Union Import Levy Act 2017, Act 952. Right, Honorable Speaker, with this budget, I will also be seeking a review of the following act to support the policies of government aimed at stabilizing the economy and promoting inclusive growth. The first will be an amendment to the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815. The second will be the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund 20, Act 870. And the second will be an amendment to the Mineral Income Investment Fund Act 2018, Act 978. The Speaker, I will also be seeking amendment to the Energy Sector Levies Act 2015, Act 899. I will be seeking amendment to the Ghana Cocoa Board Act, Act 1984, the PNDC Law 81, as amended. The Speaker, that's not all. I will also be seeking amendment to the earmark funds Capping and Realignment Act 2017, Act 947, the Ghana Procurement Authority Act 2003, Act.
It should be amalgamated with that one.
663 as amended in Act 914. The Speaker,
Okay. Yeah.
I'll be seeking amendment
How many
to the
platforms
Ghana
do you have?
Education Trust Fund Act 2000.
Who knows? WhatsApp platforms. Like Accra, for instance.
581. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I'll also be seeking amendment.
Yeah. Yes.
Amendment to the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018, Act 982. And incorporating into a comprehensive public financial management act. Mr. Speaker, I forgot to.
So my suggestion is for us to
Add that I will also be seeking amendment to the
structure
Revenue
of-
Administration Act 2016.
and what we are trying to achieve with the need for us to merge certain platforms, the need for us to collapse certain platforms, need to enlarge or shrink each platform.
Act
Then we do it.
915.
To the
Speaker,
HR team,
we remain committed
that
to the
process.
pursuit of our 24-hour economic policy at stimulating economic growth and
Yes.
job creation. Right, Honorable?
Yes, I'll come to that. Yes, I think of about 1.5 million as I said It's quite a lot.
Honorable Speaker, this policy will contribute
There's a
to addressing Ghana's
created, like
policy and stimulating economic growth and job creation. Right, Honorable Speaker,
and there's
this policy will contribute
something, then
to
there's
addressing Ghana's structural
digital,
economic challenge by
there's a
creating
lot.
an integrated, efficient,
See,
and increasingly export-driven industrial economy that fulfills the utilization of our national
which is
resources, capital, and labor power.
like productivity.
Right,
So
Honorable
it's-
Speaker,
I don't
will
want
be
to be
presenting the
too,
24-hour economic policy
like,
to Parliament
let's share
in due
ideas
course.
on how,
In this respect, Mr. Speaker, the Labor Act,
and of course,
the
because
Ghana
it's a
Investment Promotion Act,
issue,
and other enabling
let's get
legislations will be
the HR
reviewed
department
accordingly.
involved in,
Mr. Speaker,
can give
part of
ourselves
the
maybe
effort
2
to
weeks
stabilize our city
exercise.
through foreign exchange and gold reserve
Like, let's
accumulation,
review.
I will also submit a bill to
I don't know,
provide
but
a legal framework
I need that.
for the establishment
The point
of
is,
the Ghana Gold Board
coming to
for
the second
consideration
aspect,
of this House.
are
Speaker, this
issues
budget
between
is indeed an
branches
abridged
and
version
Accra.
of the 2025 budget statement and
There
economic
is-
policy of government. I respectfully request the Hansa Department to capture the entire budget
Operation-
statement and economic policy of
Challenges.
government for the year ending
Some are
31st
also
31st December
issues that have to do with
2025.
differing
Speaker,
opinions
Standing here
on
evokes a sense of
the best
nostalgia
way to.
as I reflect on my
So
journey in
sometimes
public
when
service. From my early days as
The
a young
brand-
parliamentarian in this
Kumasi
house in the year
once a
2009,
flag,
destiny has guided my path from the
Kwanzaa is
backbencher economy
or fair,
through sound
it's-
policy
but
and
there's
structural
Jonathan
reforms that will propel our country.
and the draft the platform for Nana Yate is charging the phone while she's doing that. So what happens? I've been a branch manager before. I just
forward.
because I can't be
Speaker,
Mother.
There comes a time in a nation
So let's look at a way that works. Activity, you know. We are almost. But so issue is not over here. The telephones are on it. If you are not aware, I'm telling
nation's history when
It's tennis,
fundamental
isn't it?
challenges must be confronted.
you, they
Difficult
can't be stretching the payment. So we'll have to make it multiple lines. Who's using mobile phones? Double, triple, I think. Conference call. It's not.
Choices,
No
difficult
airtime.
choices must be made.
Room
A new course
telephone.
must be set.
Okay. Eventually it comes to money, but we have to cut down
Must be made.
so that
A
we
new
can
course
put the
must
limited
be set
resources
for the future.
areas that are critical. So, digital team, it was digital first. And they brought a budget.
For Ghana,
But we're able
the
to
defining
give-
moment is now.
Yes.
Speaker, President John
We get so
Dramani
we're trying to
Mahama,
find
the
ways
defining moment is now.
we don't have to spend too much.
Speaker, President John Dramani
Yes,
Mahama
then we can
made a
push
commitment
critical
to
areas
reset Ghana
important
for
for our
jobs,
good.
accountability, prosperity.
I'm sure finance
The Speaker,
flag
as
this one.
captured in the NDC manifesto,
It's pick up
in this
of the
regard,
news readers.
the theme
It happened.
of our
Going forward,
budget is
I
resetting
want
the
us to
economy
review this
for Ghana we want. Right, Honorable
why it
Speaker,
was being done.
the democratic principles we tirelessly fought for
Those reasons still right.
are being held. Our democracy has been consolidated with yet another peaceful transition.
Let's be
power.
honest.
That notwithstanding, our youth face an uncertain future with growing unemployment and hopelessness. This suggests that
And
the dividend of
it is.
democracy, such as economic prosperity and social justice,
Most of us
remains
know
elusive. The Speaker, the choice before us as a country are clear.
especially law.
We can either continue on a path of self-destruction by not confronting the problems,
come here
or we can embark on a journey of fundamental reforms and transformation.
Via online and it's
One that
perfect.
resets our economic model, redefines our priorities, honors our social
This we
contracts,
can look at.
and provide opportunity for all. The Speaker,
So that we
luckily,
don't
President Mahama
money
has chosen
and
the
now
path
it's not
of reform. and
true we are
transformation.
buying.
He
We are
will fix
buying-
the economy. He will restore hope and lead us to build
Going
the
to
Ghana
fix
we
people-
want together.
2 and 3
Right,
times
Honorable
bust.
Speaker, this budget was
Does it
preceded
go through
by the National Economic Dialogue on the theme Resetting Ghana, Building the
So
Economy
let's
We Want
have
Together,
honest
on the 3rd and the 4th
about
of
it.
March
And now, I mean,
2025.
Ghana
Through
has
this consensus
already
building dialogue,
initiated
the people
for us
demanded
to
a
review some of
decisive
these
action,
things.
real solution to the severe
should be
challenges
possible
that plagued us as
convert
a country.
Some of these.
Mr. Speaker, the
Put the money
2025
in
budget
areas that are
is a culmination of the true aspirations, felt needs, genuine desires of the people of
Sorry.
Ghana, expressed
Yes.
through the engagement with diverse stakeholders. As part of our broad consultation also, ahead of the budget, we
Yeah.
recently engaged traders at major
Yes.
trading centers, including the Mokola market, to listen to their concerns,
Okay.
gauge their expectations, and elicit their input. So, Speaker, the extensive consultation revealed that the overriding concern among Ghanaian traders and
I
business
mean, I'm
communities
interested in this conversation.
remains price and
to
exchange
fi-
rate
the whole-
stability.
that
Apart from
we find
eroding
a
their
way
working
to
capital, exchange rate volatilities
progressively.
makes effective business planning impossible
have
and
produced a
increase
lot of-
the cost of doing business.
It came to us.
This budget outlines far-reaching measures which will
Anywhere,
be implemented in close collaboration
running for 6
with the
years.
Central Bank, the Bank of Ghana, to
makes sense.
effectively and efficiently manage the exchange
You know,
rate. and
sometimes
inflation.
when
Mr. Speaker, we also
jam,
engage
I
the
do
youth
the
of Ghana in a dialogue
my
on
phone.
social media as part of our new
20
budget
minutes, the
consultation.
2-hour show
Mr.
is
Speaker, during my engagement
phone.
with the youth, it was revealed that 321
laptop. So
pharmacists
we-
who were employed
Conversations.
since June 2023 have not received their salaries.
Okay.
We will take urgent steps to remedy this situation immediately.
get to exhaust, then I'll come to.
Right, Honorable Speaker,
Yes, yeah.
this
yeah.
conversation was an eye-opening experience, one that strengthened my belief that the voices of the youth matter in designing policies that directly and indirectly impact their lives and future. So, Speaker, in the year 2016,
Yeah.
I came to this chamber on behalf of the then Minister of Finance, the Honorable Seth Emmanuel Tepe, and led the passage of the Public Financial Management Act 2016,
That's a good
Act
question.
912, to deploy
now
a
that-
robust public financial management system.
Let me address
Even though, Mr. Speaker,
candidly.
the Public Financial Management Act, its poor implementation has rendered
Request for
our
review.
public financial management systems weak,
the maintenance
allowing for abuse and costly infraction.
request.
Mr. Speaker, President
Request.
Mohammed's government is committed
My,
to the
maintenance
full
regime
implementation
matters.
of this critical legislation. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, we will enforce the sanction regime, link contracting and
request.
public
I'm
procurement to
waiting
budgetary
for-
provisions in the medium-term expenditure framework, and seek
The me-
parliamentary approval for all multi-year commitments as required
Did
by
that.
law.
Owning an Asaseka is not a right.
Mr. Speaker, we will comply with the
problem.
public procurement process and
Yeah,
link them
I
to approved
can't
budget.
be
We will also
returned
respect
from
the limits of the appropriations as
stuff
approved by
That
Parliament.
I
We will rationalize the management of the compensation of employees, including conducting headcount across the country. Mr. Speaker, I now
Yeah,
turn
very
my
nice.
attention or my focus to the
and you
state
decide that
of the
because
Ghanaian economy as at
you
31st
even
December
let them
2025. Right, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I now focus my attention on the state of the Ghanaian economy as at 31st December
even watch it.
2024. Mr. Speaker, hands on heart, we inherited an economy in deep crisis.
So it's a bigger particularly with Accra, because
Bigger,
majority of
an economy hard hit
37 or 38
with
cars.
debt and beset
32
by
cars are in
other
Accra.
fiscal challenges, such as large accumulation of MDA arrests,
Conversation we will
energy
have
sector
when finance
shortfalls,
an
and
open,
financial
honest
sector
conversation about.
payments.
I need you to
Speaker,
begin to understand that
Recommitment control and
companies
reckless
car
public spending
in
have reversed the
your
progress
is not
made
a right.
in fiscal consolidation, even under the IMF program
Companies car
that
to
commenced in the year 2023.
authorize people to
The Speaker, notwithstanding the
document
gains
from
made under the IMF-supported program,
where
that was to
on
achieve through the
use
painful
an
sacrifice of domestic bondholders, external creditors, and taxpayers. The economy remains in distress.
not to do that.
Right,
But
Honorable
a lot
Speaker.
of people.
Key performance indicators to be assessed by the IMF staff
So
in the upcoming
is
fourth
off.
review of the program
Other
scheduled
services.
for April 2025,
In time,
such as
if
the
you-
primary balance on commitment basis,
possession of an assassin car,
inflation,
please
social protection,
beat it.
and
With
others, as at
Yeah.
end
Don't worry,
2024,
soon. Once
are likely missed.
the
Right,
one of
Honorable
the things
Speaker.
I'm proposing
In
is
addition, all structural
calendar for
benchmarks
every car.
due by end December
Transport
2024
session.
are also missed. So, Speaker, inflation worsened in the year 2024
regime
from
is followed.
23.2% in the year 2023 to
If you don't follow it out,
23.8% in
You
2024.
can take it to where
So, Speaker, the 2024 end period inflation also exceeded the budget target of 15% by 8.8 percent points,
We have
and the IMF central
Not really.
target of 18% by 5.8
what was that
percentage
one?
points. Unfortunately, this has
It-
triggered a discussion with IMF
Then
under the
ask
monetary
and
policy
communicate.
consultation clause. Right, Honorable
body on
Speaker.
our behalf.
The
No.
primary balance on commitment basis worsened from a deficit of 0.2% of GDP in the year 2023 to a deficit of 3.9% in the year
HR department,
2024.
if it's finance,
Mr. Speaker,
if it's
the
newsroom,
primary balance
digital,
on commitment basis target for
if it's
2024
programs
was a
engineering,
surplus of
if
0.5%
it's
of
commercial, we are
GDP.
there.
Sadly, the previous
you
government
think
recorded a deficit of
you want
3.9% stage point of GDP. This presents a slippage of a whopping 4.4 percentage
The
points.
door is open.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Don't
At the end of
be
December
pretending
2024,
to finish
total
rules
central
and
government
regulations.
arrests
Do
amounted to
because
67.5 billion Ghana cedis,
you are saying,
representing
I've known chairman for,
5.2% of GDP.
but so what?
The Speaker, with the road sector recording an arrest of 21 billion Ghana
I
cedis.
attend.
The Speaker, when I
That's
assumed
fine.
office
Chairman, I
on the
don't know.
23rd of January
Follow me at
2025,
any
my
road.
office was inundated with
There are
arrests
conversations
and
with their
outstanding
superior-
payment for all
to share all
MDAs.
this.
The Ministry of Finance decided to formally request all MDAs. On the subsequently, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance held a special hearing with the MDAs to validate the arrests
It's not done.
that were submitted.
We will not accept
for
it.
payment.
If I catch you,
The response from the MDAs
Would-
and the validation revealed that a staggering amount of
Would-
67.5
That is
billion Ghana cedis is
last
owned
year,
to government
it's still on the
contractors
notice
and
board that
suppliers.
don't-
The Speaker, this consists of MDA's outstanding interim payment of invoices worth 49.2
When my
billion
wife know they are
and bank transfer advice
people,
at the
they will
Controller
see
Accountant
you-
General worth
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
18.3
they are-
billion Ghana cedis.
Don't,
Speaker,
don't.
This 67 billion excludes
They are aware.
1.73 billion US dollars
Probably
owned to
them.
independent power producers.
I said,
This 67 billion also
I
excludes
worked with.
68 billion Ghana cedis owned by the
Executives.
Electricity Company of Ghana to contractors. The Speaker,
I've worked
this
with Kokos.
67 billion US dollars
Don't
also exclude the
mind.
32 billion owned by the Ghana Cocoa Board to
The
contractors.
only
Mr. Speaker,
of
this
interest to
67.5
him
billion also excludes the
that every month you are
5.75
giving
billion
him
owned by the Ghana Road Fund
to
to
do.
various
That's it.
contractors. Right, Honorable Speaker, the Bank of
But
Ghana
you
is
are
also
able to-
seeking
oh,
an amount of 53 billion
you-
Ghana cedis as bailout
And you say
to be able
also-
to address their negative equity challenge that they face. Mr. Speaker, as part of the measures
taxing
to address these mounting accumulated arrests,
for
we
money.
have commissioned an audit of these arrest payments and guarantee value for money
Go there.
before a penny
He will be coming-
paid. Mr. Speaker, before a penny will be paid, we'll commit to do that arrest.
You will be
Right, Honorable
coming here.
Speaker, in addition to the 67.5 billion cedis in arrests, The validation process also revealed that MDAs have awarded contract to the tune of
If he will give
a
it-
minimum
if he will give it to
194 billion Ghana cedis.
He's an old man.
Mr. Speaker, this amount represents
until then-
16.5% of GDP as
The
at the
manager
end
of
of
a savings
2024.
and loans. Don't-
With the road sector again alone accounting for 100
By the way-
billion Ghana cedis.
We
Mr. Speaker,
don't do it.
most of these contractors
Yes,
and most of these
okay.
contracts were awarded without commencement
If there are no
certificate and authorization.
Yes,
Mr. Speaker,
Jacob.
this is in blatant violation of the Public Financial Management Act 921. Right, Honorable Speaker,
Sorry, say again.
let me now update you on our debt service obligations. Mr. Speaker, apart from the huge arrests and commitment, our fiscal situation is further complicated by huge bullet debt service and constrained fiscal financing options. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the government option to finance the budget is limited to only Treasury bill market following the debt restructuring program. Moreover, the forthcoming debt service of both domestic and Eurobond debt obligation will have profound implication for fiscal sustainability and balance of payment. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Okay.
Domestic
And
debt
then-
service alone,
This is
program for the next
99.7 is
4
Tamale.
years is 150.3 billion Ghana cedis. The Speaker, simply put, the interest and principal payment that will be due for payment beginning now for the next 4 years is 150.3 billion
Let me.
Ghana cedis.
The
This represents 11.6% of
programs
GDP
department
in domestic debt
is
service
in the
obligations
process of
alone. The Speaker,
image.
of this
It's called image,
150
right?
billion US Ghana
for the
cedis,
entire
73.3% of this 150
Ghana-
million Ghana, 150
So
billion Ghana cedis
they will
is
do
due
it
for payment in the year 2027
for any
and
purchase
2028. Right, Honorable Speaker. 2027
for
alone,
the
the domestic debt service that
They
will
are
be
good
falling
products.
due will be 57.6 billion.
Yes.
And 2028 will be made to call upon to
what's
pay
the name?
52.5
Latin.
billion.
These are
Ghana cedis.
key.
So, Speaker,
These
the
are-
debt service obligation
Okay, so
of 2027 and
don't take time.
2028
Then
are major
for
harms.
995 we
These
can
harms
group
are
product.
cancerous and
Acting
pose
funds.
significant risks
So
to the
there's a-
economy of Ghana.
Thing-
But, Mr. Speaker,
there's a red
touch
big
wood, we shall fix it.
that
We
will
shall
run
fix
from
it.
distinguish
Speaker,
between groups. So good pro-
Our debt service obligation of this
Essentially, when
financial
the-
year is equally burdensome
the
with significant
participating
harms.
share,
February, we were called upon to pay 9.9 billion.
and there is
July, we'll be paying
Branch-
6.2 billion. And
like that.
August, we'll
Okay.
be paying 10.1 billion. All
will
this
be
year.
imagine than
Right, Honorable Speaker, the fiscal
All this.
challenges are
One
further
of the
compounded by the significant
Probably
short-term
before the end
treasury
of this
bill that we
One-
also inherited.
get
Requires rover week in, week out,
to call
placing
us,
additional pressure
you know,
on cash flows and liquidity
before the end
requirements.
of
Mr. Speaker, beyond the
as
domestic
far as
maturities, Ghana faces significant
government is
external debt
concerned.
service
In Ghana,
obligations for the
about
next 4 years.
70%
In the next 4 years,
public
we'll
in
be
Ghana.
made
So
to
it's
call
an
upon
advantage
to pay
that we want to explore for
8.7 billion US dollars, representing 10.9 billion,
a
10.9%
question
of
online.
GDP, with heavy concentration again in the year 2027 and 2028. Again, Mr. Speaker, 55% of this external debt
Use the
service will be due in the year 2027 and 2028. Right, Honorable Speaker,
you have
the
a
year
habit of-
2027 will be made to pay 2.5 billion US dollars, and 2028
The
will
local
have to again pay 2.4 billion US dollars. Right, Honorable Speaker, it seems the debt restructuring undertaken by the previous administration was designed to make 2027 and 2028 debt repayment heavy.
You see,
Sadly, Mr. Speaker, I don't know how come we sat and allowed that design
ourselves.
to happen. Mr. Speaker, that is cancerous, but I can assure you we will fix it. Mr. Speaker, in spite of all this
As we
upcoming
have-
domestic and external debt service obligation, no buffers will count. The sinking fund in dollar find 319 million US dollars in that same account. Mr. Speaker, the debt service reserve CD account had an amount of 143 million Ghana
It's
cedis.
even-
Right, Honorable Speaker,
it's-
when we were
there's
leaving
no-
office, the balance was 430 million Ghana cedis. So, Speaker, I now move you to stalled project. Stalled project.
Wait,
The Speaker, due to the bilateral creditors' debt restructuring
disgrace us.
that is ongoing, undertaken by previous administration, a staggering number of 55 projects have been halted. Mr. Speaker, this leaves a massive amount of 3 billion Ghana US dollars in undisbursed loans and about $300 million in outstanding interim payment certificates, IPCs. Some of these projects include the famous Ifeanyi Kwanta Hospital,
yes.
the Kejetia Market Phase 2,
It's not-
the
let's not
Bogatanga Boko
specifics
Komakrom Road,
of
and the Tema
private
Aflawa
endeavor.
Road project.
But
Delayed payment and demobilization from site could result in cost
There's
overruns of
two-
over 1.1 billion US dollars. Right, Honorable Speaker, the IMF-supported program imposed an annual disbursement ceiling of $250 million for all bilateral loans that are being restructured. This constraint means
I know that-
it will take a minimum of 12 years to complete all of this stalled program. So, Speaker,
the
unfortunately,
yard.
as a result of the debt restructuring,
The-
all this stalled program,
leaf
working
particles-
with the IMF will take a minimum of 12 years if
the
we
leaf
decide
particles-
to go business as
So
usual.
nice.
We'll be engaging in the coming days to resolve this
People-
challenge. Speaker, I
That's
now
been-
take you to the famous energy sector fiscal risk. Mr. Speaker, the increase in energy sector financing
leave the-
shortfall is posing significant risk to the Ghanaian economy.
It's not the
In the year
best.
2024,
Please
the Ministry
mute,
of
yeah.
Finance supported
It's
the
not-
energy sector with
Yes.
payment of about
I am on-
20.8 billion Ghana cedis.
I am very confused.
These resources could have been used for job creation and other development programs,
In Cape
like roads, schools, and hospitals, if the sector inefficiencies were resolved.
Ladies,
The
there are
Speaker,
two wash-
a recent exercise conducted
call
by
the
the energy
ladies.
sector financing modeling team under
I
the
asked them
Energy
to-
Sector Recovery Program,
washing the
ESRP, revealed that the business as usual
And
energy
look.
sector financing shortfall has increased significantly
So-
to about 35 billion Ghana cedis for the year 2025 alone,
matter.
even after spending in excess of 20 billion cedis
So
in the year 2024.
In Cape
Right,
Coast.
Honorable Speaker.
The
More
key-
importantly, the shortfall for the period 2023 to 2026 has been
the
estimated
guys-
to be about 140 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this amount is 20
If you
times more than the allocation for goods and services
Just
for all
continue.
MDAs in the year 2025. Mr. Speaker,
Dock it,
in addition,
designate
the
it.
energy sector shortfalls, which relate to current
But let's not-
invoices that are
let's respect ourselves.
largely unpaid
Shall
legacy
be very
arrests
careful
due to the
without
independent power producers.
Please stop.
Mr. Speaker, the legacy arrests stood at
Abroad.
1.73 billion US dollars as at end
please.
2024.
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
Honorable Speaker, the cocoa sector, which has long been the backbone of the Ghanaian economy, is sadly on its knees, owing to gross mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, the sector faces declining output and financing challenges, characterized by unsustainable debt,
Okay.
rollover cocoa contract risk, and quasi-fiscal expenditures, including cocoa roads, which, Mr. Speaker,
Right.
is a non-core function of the Ghana Cocoa Board.
Yeah, let's.
Right, Honorable Speaker, cocoa production has dropped by nearly 50% over the past 3 years. In the year 2023-2024 crop season, Cocoa Board was unable to supply 330,000 tons of cocoa to meet its contractual obligation. This sharply decline has affected
So,
the finances
Dr. if we
of Ghana
can
Cocoa.
look at
This undersupply has been rolled over for subsequent years for the new administration to pay. So, Speaker, these 2023 to 2024 forward sales contracts, locked in at lower prices than the current market rates, have resulted in revenue losses of about 840 million US dollars for both Ghana Cocoa Board and the impoverished cocoa farmer.
yesterday.
Right, Honorable Speaker, the rollout cocoa contract has resulted in a loss of $495 million
Yes,
for the year 2025 alone.
Mr.
Speaker,
put out a statement.
These are the risks
I want
in
to
relation
ask
to the market price
Sal-
differentials and as a result, costs
Yes.
causing the smoggling that we see with
We
Ghana
have
Cocoa Board.
um,
Mr. Speaker, Cocoa Board outstanding debt amount to 32
1.6
billion Ghana cedis, of which 11.92 billion is due to be paid in the year 2025. Outstanding Cocoa Road contracts reached 21 billion Ghana cedis, approximately $1.3 billion in the year 2024,
having a challenge.
of which only 4.4 billion has been accounted for in Cocoa Board's finances for the year 2025. Mr. Speaker, the financial sector still struggles,
There
even
is
after
a
spending 30.3 billion
funding gap.
in the financial sector cleanup exercise by end 2024.
Chairman,
This includes
Chairman
26.9 billion Ghana cedis after spending this amount in the banking sector. Mr. Speaker, as we
But
speak,
we
the financial sector
anticipate
is still struggling, and the financial
this
sector will
December
require 10.45 billion Ghana
months.
cedis to address the financial
Is
sector legacy issues and
challenge.
emerging risk.
But
In addition, Mr.
eventually,
Speaker,
it
an amount of 2.2
about
billion
downtime
Ghana cedis is
and-
required to fully
So,
capitalize
please bear with
the
us.
National Investment Bank and the Agricultural
It's-
Development Bank of Ghana.
It's
Mr. Speaker,
for just a
I
short.
will also update the House on the
If
fiscal
you were to-
performance for the year 2024. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal performance in the year 2024 was characterized by
so then-
improved
well-
revenue collection, but with significant expenditure overruns. In addition,
Uncomfortable situation.
large arrests were accumulated over the period. Mr. Speaker, in summary, the provisional data shows the following. One, primary balance on commitment basis, the key fiscal anchor of the IMF program, worsened from a deficit of 0.2% of GDP at the end of 2023
HR
to a
department-
deficit of 3.9% of GDP at the end of the year 2024.
There.
This is
And
4.4
once
percentage
the money
points
hits
worse
the accounts,
than the target
you have
surplus of 0.5% of GDP. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, on cash basis, Mr. Speaker, the primary balance was a deficit of 1.2% of GDP against a target of 0.6% of GDP, representing a 100% deviation. Mr. Speaker, the overall fiscal balance on commitment basis for 2024 was a deficit of 7.9% of GDP against a target of 4.2% of GDP. While the overall fiscal balance on cash basis was a deficit of 5.2% of GDP against a target of 5.3% of GDP. Total revenue and grant amounted to 186.6 billion Ghana cedis, or 15.9% of GDP, 5.3% above the revised target of 177.2 billion Ghana cedis, or 17.4% of GDP. The performance was mainly driven by higher than programmed oil and gas receipt and higher non-oil tax revenue collection. Total expenditure on commitment basis, including discrepancies, amounted to 279.2 billion, or 23.7% of GDP. This is 27.1% above the budget provisions of the year 2024, Mr. Speaker. The primary balance on commitment basis, including discrepancies, amounted to 232.4 billion, or 19.8% of GDP. This is 35.3% above the target of 171.7 billion, or 16.8% of GDP. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, all expenditure lines exceeded their respective targets for the period, except for interest payments, goods and service, and other expenditures. Right Honorable Speaker, the discrepancies for the year 2024 being unclassified expenditure was 3.8 billion Ghana cedis as compared to 12.9 billion Ghana cedis in the year 2023. Mr. Speaker, at the end of December 2024, provisional data indicate that gross central government and guaranteed debt was 726.7 billion from 610 billion in 2023. This represents 61.8% of GDP in 2024, compared to 68.7% in the year 2023. Mr. Speaker, it is instructive to note that the debt to GDP ratio and the dollar component of our debt that has come down, that has reduced, is as a result of the 37% haircut on principal of Eurobond debt under the debt restructuring. Mr. Speaker, it is important to know that. Mr. Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, it is instructive to note that the debt to GDP that has reduced is as a result of the 37% haircut on principal and interest that were given to Eurobond bondholders. So, Speaker, you may recall that the government commenced the debt restructuring program in the year 2022 to restore debt sustainability and economic stability. As of now, the restructuring process is approximately 93% completed. The remaining 7% relate to debt of $2.7 billion owed to commercial creditors. We are committed to completing the remaining debt restructuring as soon as possible. So, Speaker, real sector development in the year 2024. Right Honorable Speaker, provisional 2024 GDP statistics published by the Ghana Statistical Service on the 10th of March 2025 shows that overall real GDP growth increase. So, Speaker, at the end of increased to 5.7% in the year 2024. So, Speaker, I take that again. The Speaker, provisional 2024 GDP statistics published by the Ghana Statistical Service on the 10th of March 2025 show that overall GDP growth grew by 5.7% of GDP in the year 2027, compared to the growth rate of 3.1% recorded over the same period. Mr. Speaker, the key driver of this growth was largely coming from gold mine. Mr. Speaker, including Galamsey. Including Galamsey. Mr. Speaker, Galamsey growth cannot be sustainable. Mr. Speaker, non-oil GDP growth. Mr. Speaker, the non-oil GDP grew by 0.6% in the year 2024, compared with a growth rate of 3.6% recorded in 2023. Mr. Speaker, the gross international reserves increased to a stock position of $8.98 billion at the end of 2024, and was enough to cover 4 months of imports, exceeding the target of a floor of 3 months of import cover. At the end of 2024, the currency had depreciated by 19.2% against the US dollars, 17.8% against the British pound, so Speaker, and it had depreciated by 13.7% against the euro. The Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, it is what it is. The state of our economy is troubling, but we will fix it. Mr. Speaker, touch wood, we will fix it. But Mr. Speaker, it will require some sacrifices, truthfulness, transparency, and discipline. We will take strong measures to confront the situation head on. Mr. Speaker, the sacrifice must come from all stakeholders, beginning with the government. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President appreciates this and has led the charge by significantly downsizing his government from the Elephant 88 to the Umbrella 60. Mr. Speaker, he has also reduced the number of his government ministries from the Elephant 30 to the Umbrella 23. Mr. Speaker, as part of the contribution to the resetting agenda, Organized labor has followed suit by working with government and employers association to agree on a modest 10% increase in base pay and minimum wage for the year 2025. Right Honorable Speaker, on behalf of His Excellency the President, I would like to express my profound gratitude to organized labor and employers. Mr. Speaker, ordinary Ghanaians have also sacrificed by enduring the negative impact of severe currency depreciation since 2022. Hyperinflation, high food inflation, principal and interest haircuts, soaring interest rates, among others. Mr. Speaker, it is now time for the people's representative, the members of parliament, and the judiciary to also follow suit. I would like to call on all other stakeholders, including the business community, faith-based organizations, academia, and civil society to support this national call. So, Speaker, our immediate task is to reset our nation, to restore good governance, reduce the excruciating suffering of our people, and set our country on a trajectory of economic transformation. So, Speaker, our vision is to build a prosperous and a democratic state, anchored on the principles of freedom and justice, providing equal opportunities for all. So, Speaker, through this vision, we will work together to build the Ghana we want. Right Honorable Speaker, the resetting agenda will be anchored on the following. 1, restoring hope in our democracy, renewing trust in public officials, and helping every Ghanaian attain their full potential. Offering a trusted hand to the vulnerable, particularly women and youth, and creating a new Ghana for coming generations. And finally, stimulating demand by patronizing made in Ghana goods under the 24-hour economy. Mr. Speaker, today I came to this chamber with made in Ghana bag, signifying, Mr. Speaker, with made in Ghana bag, Mr. Speaker, I would like to first present, Mr. Speaker, they don't know that in Ghana we sew suit. Right, Honorable Speaker, I would like to first present the government's immediate and strong measures to address the current challenges we are confronted with, followed by the medium-term vision, policy objectives, and targets. Right, Honorable Speaker, consistent with Section 14 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 911, the fiscal policy objectives of this government is to support the economic transformation agenda to ensure the macroeconomic stability of the country within the macroeconomic and fiscal framework. More specifically, the fiscal policy objective of the government include the following: rationalizing government expenditure and eliminating wasteful expenditures, optimizing domestic revenue mobilization through broadening of tax base, increased non-tax revenue collection, adopting enhanced tax compliance measures, and modernizing the tax administration through digital technology. Mr. Speaker, we will also increase the share of domestic expenditure to spur economic growth and job creation. We'll be reducing public debt to sustainable levels and adopting prudent debt management practice to support debt sustainability. Reducing the fiscal deficit progressively in accordance with the amended Fiscal Responsibility Act to promote fiscal and debt sustainability. And Mr. Speaker, restoring confidence in the Ghana economy. Right, Honorable Speaker, our approach will be to foster economic growth, accelerate job creation, reduce inflation, and stabilize the ceiling. To achieve this, it is crucial that we establish the macroeconomic
I think there
stability
is
and ensure debt sustainability.
a profile.
Mr. Speaker, we are
They
confident
upload all the flyers.
that by
When we come
prioritizing
by 8
these
a.m.,
fundamental
staff members
elements,
have gone to
we
like
can
it.
Cultivate an
It should be
environment
that simple.
where individuals can prosper
Sufi has given
and
me a
businesses
badge.
can thrive in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians through the recent National Economic Dialogue have expressed a clear desire for fiscal deficit and public debt to be reduced through cuts in government spending rather than through only tax measures. We wholeheartedly agree. Mr. Speaker, going forward, we will tailor our expenditure to align with our fiscal realities. After all, whoever pays off their debt gets rich. So, Speaker, we are poised to implement a three-pronged approach to achieve our objective, beginning with this budget.
We have more than enough talent.
First will be to recalibrate the fiscal adjustment, and we believe
Most important.
that by prioritizing spending-led
In West
fiscal
Africa.
adjustment can initiate a positive cycle. Fiscal adjustment can initiate a positive cycle in a way that first, it will help lower inflation and curb depreciation of the cedi.
You see my best.
Secondly, it will lessen government reliance on borrowing, which
His work-
in turn will reduce the crowding out of private
Media
sector
organizations.
and lower interest rates.
friend.
Lastly, this approach will ease the strain on monetary policy, allowing the central
Yeah.
bank some greater flexibility
Faster.
to reduce monetary policy rates, ultimately resulting in lower bank and lending rates. So, Speaker,
Miss-
the second approach will be to deliver a shock therapy.
If I
Mr. Speaker, we
This
are implementing a
funding.
form of shock therapy to the
Price-
economy
oh, things
by
is
making
done in
significant
the-
spending cuts this year, thereby
Just
reducing
man.
the government financing needs
was the
and
first
front-loading
person
fiscal adjustment. This is the down payment
Was-
for our policy credibility
in the whole of
and
Ghana.
credit worthiness. Right,
The
Honorable
whole of
Speaker,
Ghana.
our third approach will be to restore fiscal
He was
responsibility.
corresponding.
By moving forward, we will enhance public financial management
Just
by empowering ministers to effectively
him out.
manage their budget on their own,
You
ensuring
ran away.
strict
This is
compliance with the commencement
in the
certificate.
website.
So, Speaker, will be passing and enforcing
Well,
a
the Chinese-
revised Fiscal Responsibility Act. And finally,
Is that
we will enforce the sanction
Do you know what
regime
it takes to-
for non-compliance
the
of
Chinese
the Public
Republic?
Financial Management Act.
You
So, Speaker,
need.
in pursuit
Those
of the
mo-
overarching
Has money-
macroeconomic objectives, the following macroeconomic targets
company
have been set for the year 2025. Overall real GDP growth of
I've
at
known
least 4% of GDP. So, Speaker, not less non-oil real
my
GDP growth
senior at
of
Infancy.
at least 4.8% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, end period inflation rate of 11.9%. So, Speaker, primary balance on commitment basis of a
Since that
surplus
time.
of 1.5% of GDP.
I
Mr. Speaker,
started
gross international reserves, including oil
Relationship
funds
from
and
that
encumbered
time
assets,
from
to cover not more than
junior high
a
school.
minimum of 3 months of
Now.
import.
look
Mr.
at
Speaker, to address inflation, government will implement a number of measures to complement the
want
Bank
to
of
launch
Ghana
as a CTV soon.
and monetary
Thing we are going to
authorities.
go to.
So, Speaker,
He doesn't want
the
to say,
measures
but I'll
to
say
stabilize
it.
the exchange rate include the
Daniel is
following.
a first class student
We will be establishing the Ghana Gold
Graduate.
Board
in
to
history.
enhance the generation of accumulation of an accumulation of
Why in the
forests to
science?
support the stability of the Ghana city. The Bank of Ghana will continue to implement its FX forward auction to support the stability of the Ghana city. Government strong fiscal consolidation through the reduction
Knows it.
in public sector spending and the fiscal deficit will reduce the pressure on the exchange rate.
Senior.
Mr. Speaker, our import substitution drive under the 24-hour economy involving domestic production of key products originally imported will reduce import and related FX requirements, boding well for FX stability. Right, Honorable Speaker, we are addressing the inflation problems through a number of
Front
measures, including the following.
Use
First, Specific interventions, including the Agriculture for Economic Transformational Agenda, is expected to increase food production and reduce food inflation. Government will implement policies that target items with large weights in the CPI basket, such as transportation and utilities, to reduce their prices. Mr. Speaker, our aggressive fiscal consolidation drive aimed at reducing the fiscal deficit and borrowing will contribute significantly to reducing inflationary pressures. Right, Honorable Speaker, our strategy to improve exchange rate stability will reduce imported inflation and fuel prices. And Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Ghana will maintain an appropriate monetary policy stance and use its liquidity management interventions to support the disinflation process. Right, Honorable Speaker, to achieve our expenditure-led fiscal consolidation objectives, we will implement the following measures. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to our expenditure measures. Mr. Speaker, the following expenditure measures will be implemented in 2025 and the medium term to support fiscal consolidation agenda. First, we will conduct a comprehensive audit to validate the quantum of arrests and commitment as at 31st December 2024. Mr. Speaker, the mandatory use of blanket purchase order to capture multi-year commitment contracts in line with our medium-term expenditure ceilings will be implemented. We amend the Public Procurement Act to provide for an independent value for money office to scrutinize government procurement. Mr. Speaker, we will also work with Parliament to amend the Public Procurement Act to make commencement certificate